Get it.
Okay, hello. Welcome to episode 429 of the Self-Help Podcast with me, Ed Lamb, and my good pal, Sean Ufford. How are you, Sean?
I'm very good. It's almost 4:50. Hey, that must be a bottle of champagne or something.
Another round number coming up. Yeah. I did mention last week, that we're getting on to, I wonder what will come first, 1 million downloads or 450 episodes. I'm not sure, but
definitely 1 million downloads.
I think you're right, actually. Yeah, not too shabby. I thought you were having a glass of wine then, but yeah.
Adam's ale. Water.
Now, so we're talking about performance and performing today, and not in the kind of like athletic sense or the business sense, or we're talking about when we put on our show for our friends and family and our colleagues at work, aren't we, Sean?
Yeah. It's a phrase that's become part of the currency, which is performative. So we have performative wellness, we have performative business, performative success. And what it means is that it's that people are acting in ways that make them appear like they're amazingly successful, right, or they're amazingly, and it's this need to perform. And it does come back, it does feed into this whole idea about coming out of lockdown, coming out of holidays, going back into the workplace, and people need to be seen, And one of the biggest things people have been saying to me, it's the COVID 5K, which is the 5K that you put on during COVID, not the one that you run. And people are feeling kind of big, fat, bloated. They're feeling like out of condition, and they're kind of overdoing it to kind of compensate for the fact that they don't feel good about themselves.
I see.
So yeah, so you get this whole kind of performative thing going on, and it happens in all kinds of areas. Like when I used to teach a lot of yoga, I'd watch people, and someone would be doing a posture, and then they'd turn to the person next to them and see that they were doing it better than them, and then they'd be going, oh, and stretching and putting themselves to try and get it so I can be as good as the person next to me. And I had to stop a lot of people and say, look, this isn't a competition. Our bodies are different. Work with your body. Don't worry about other people's body, kind of thing.
Yeah. Aren't people just endlessly fascinating, eh?
Yeah.
But yeah, quick mention to the website. I mean, websites are interesting actually because they're obviously a kind of a public, like visual way of saying who you are, what you do, what your business is doing. Go to liveinthepresent.co.uk for a performative visual example of what we offer. It definitely wasn't a hastily like world record time to make a website assemble bit of work that I needed to do when our old website kind of broke down. Honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and yeah, all the show notes and links are there. So yeah, do check out the website. But yeah, it is interesting. Obviously, I'm a designer. Obviously, you might not know. I'm a graphic and web designer in my spare time. And so I guess I do have to kind of take what I see when I speak to a business or a company or a business owner and kind of create a visual representation of that business online. And it, we're using nothing but lines and fonts and colors and photos.
When you're going to have that whole idea of being performative, as the new word is, and so like we're having to appear in a certain way. When I look at the different areas I've worked in, when I've been working in the court system, and you've got a barrister who's having to present a scallywag in a certain way, and that's a performative exercise. Like the scallywag comes to court dressed in a shirt and a suit and a tie, and all that, something that they never wear. Unless they were going to a funeral, I guess. And so they put on a show. And that's to me is the whole kind of performative thing, and being needed to be seen as being, special in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating, isn't it? Go on, you were saying.
Oh no, I was going to say, of course, some of us have put filters on whilst we're on Zoom, haven't we?
Well, I know, and we've, just to kind of, break the third wall of podcasting, or whatever you call it, the fourth wall. We're recording 2 of these back to back because I'm
Yeah.
going away. I'm going away on holiday, so we need some in the
Yeah.
bank so that
Yeah.
our listeners don't have to go like the hardship of not having an episode of this podcast to go without while we're away. So, before I go away, I just leave way too much work to do in that last little week. So I've got loads to do. I've been doing stuff with the kids because it's summer holidays, the family. I'm knackered. I was up late last night, up early this morning, recording 2 of these, and I'm recording it in my bedroom with washing hanging up. You can see the reflection here. So normally, if I was, a professional business person would obviously either they might blur the background, or they might have one of those fancy, where you put your logo in the background, so it just kind of, you have like where you're on a beach
Get
or
on the
something like
back.
that.
Yeah.
But I thought, we're going to do it warts and all, because part of your podcast, your blog post, talks about how maybe we should be a bit more warts and all in certain parts of our life. What do you think?
Yeah. But if you look at the performative need to look a certain way, I get so internally. You just splurge your background.
Okay.
Very good.
It's a good way. I should mention we put these on YouTube as well. These podcasts now. So those watching, you can see the Golden Gate Bridge behind me, or let's have a look. What else we could do? Peppa Pig. That's the one I use for when we're talking to friends or young family members. They might like a bit of that. Yeah, you can do all sorts, can't you?
This is crazy.
Yeah,
this is absolutely crazy.
Or you can blur your background, as you have just done. But I can see.
Hey, look.
Oh, there you go. Is that your house? Oh no, similar.
No. But I can pretend that's my house, couldn't I? I'm sad.
You wish. And I can see why, for a certain professional look, and maybe you're talking to thousands of people on a webinar or something, it can help. But do you think ultimately it's a bit of a strange thing to do, that we have to kind of mask certain parts of ourselves?
I think that there's a kind of a limit to me. Okay, it's nice to kind of have a wash and comb your hair and be presentable when you go and do something. That's good. But one of the things that bothers me a lot, and distressing is the word that I get, is when I see all these predominantly young women, but not only women, that are full of kind of Botox and puff lips and stretch this and pulled that. And it's like, what's wrong with being you? Why did you have to have this performance going so that you look like something that you're not?
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, is there much difference between that and like you and I? I haven't made much effort today at all. But I'm going to put the video on just so people can see how rough I look and like the washing and all that. But you've got your hair kind of well kept. You're wearing a shirt, and you've had a shave. So is that much difference? Actually changing out the physical appearance in a deeper way?
I think that the variations in that are like, okay, okay, we've all got to put clothes on, and either we do the shave, the stubble, or the beards, depending on what we feel about it, and haircuts every now and again. Okay, fine. The issue is whether you're doing it because you need clothes, so you're wearing clothes, or whether you're doing it so that you look right with other people, in the sense of, I mean, over here we have the Louis Vuitton bag, that was bought for me many years ago, right? But it's quite funny because when I'll take it out sometimes and go place it, and they go, oh, Louis Vuitton, and it always gets that kind of comment, especially a man with a Louis Vuitton bag, that kind of thing. So I mean, like, why are we doing it? Do we buy a car because the car is the car that we want? because it meets our needs, or do we buy the car so that people see us in a certain way?
Mm. Well, don't talk to me about cars, because yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm fascinated by that culture, and I've moved way beyond the kind of how, trying to convince people to figure out other ways of getting around for environmental reasons, to really starting to understand psychological reasons why we choose certain vehicles or certain modes of transport. I use the train a lot, partly because it kind of combines better with a bicycle. I can take a bike on certain trains, and it's easier to leave a bike at stations, but I don't use the bus very much, and I think there's probably a bit of snobbery in me towards people that use a bus. But I'm sure, if I was used to using the bus, and I would be fine with it, because I think it's just a case of knowing where to go and which one goes where and which number does what and how often it shows up. And once you're through that barrier, then it's fine. Yeah, this is cool. Why don't I get the bus more often?
Well, we get the train through to Liverpool, and it always amazes me how easy it is rather than driving, and you haven't got to park a car and all that kind of stuff, which is good. But when I was coming back today, one of the reasons I have a shirt on is because I was doing a visit to a factory and I needed to look the part in the factory. But on the way back, this car came screaming up the outside, and it was a black car which had one of those kind of exhaust pipes, and really, really loud, and it had "monster" written on the back of the car, and it obviously didn't need to make that noise, and was probably burning a load of nasty stuff in doing it to make the noise. But as he came past, I was thinking, how sat in that car making that noise, how do you think you look? Is it that you go down the road like that and other people are going around and going, wow, and that makes you feel special? Is that why you're doing it? Because a car is a metal box with 4 wheels at each corner. As long as it stops and starts and is comfortable and got a decent sound system, it can't really be a lot different. Doesn't matter, how it looks on the outside in many ways. But that whole thing about the performance, the performance of I can remember when everybody had to have double glazing because everyone had single glazing, and that was a big thing, big performance issue. And then everybody had to have a new bathroom, and then a new kitchen, and then a conservatory, and all that kind of stuff. And it's all the performative. How do I look in the street? I feel so bad. Our house has only got 1 car, and everybody else has got 2. That kind of thing. That's when it gets really, really bad. But when you get to the point, like I say, with the body dysmorphia stuff, where you're changing the way your body is because it doesn't perform the way you want it to. So I have this kind of performative beauty. Look at me, aren't I lovely?
Getting down to the root cause, why do you think we've kind of turned out that way? I assume there's always been a certain amount of performance, and that kind of, well, not always, but as human civilization has kind of come on in the last, we're talking 500-600 years, maybe even longer. If you look back at ancient Rome or Greece or the Egyptians, I'm sure there were big parts of society that were, it was all about performance and, status and that kind of thing. So why? What is it about us that pushes us down that corridor?
I think that the word you just used then, status. It's like status roles and leadership all need to look, ta-da. And it's like the role that you play. And Britain is a really, even now, we've got all the old uniforms that people wear to do ceremonial duties, and those uniforms carry a certain status, and they have a performative issue. If somebody, Black Rod, when they opened Parliament, he was just to nip through in his shorts and tap the door. It's not the same as being dressed in black and walking that way and going gabon, gabon, gabon on the door. All that kind of stuff becomes a performance. And it's like, who are we trying to impress? Okay, some that we can say, well, the tradition's good and we can kind of go along with it and have fun. But I think that the key, when you look at it at an individual level, is that people very often don't feel good enough, which is why they need to change their bodies, yeah, or they don't feel that they look good enough to other people, so they need to have a certain kind of garden or a certain kind of car, yeah, or maybe there's a group of people together, and to be part of the performance of the group, you have to have a certain kind of clothing, a certain kind of shoe wear, or something to make you fit in, yeah, and that whole kind of performative issue. And I think that one of the biggest drivers in it is social media.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, that's on the list. I'm glad you brought that up and I didn't forget to, because that seems to be, I don't want to talk without kind of mentioning actual maths and science, but it does seem to be accelerating that kind of shift towards that, because, you know, and I'm kind of guilty of it to a certain extent, in terms of putting that version of me online that is, you know, happy-go-lucky, kind of laid-back Ed, good dad Ed, you know, kids are always well behaved and we never have any arguments, honestly, and I'm never getting tired and angry with them and telling them to shut up and go to sleep, that kind of thing. So, you know, I've contributed to that as well, and I guess there's a certain kind of if you think of social media as a game in terms of how you get likes and, you know, hearts and comments, when you put certain things on Instagram or Facebook, you will get a reaction from people, and you're more likely to get a positive reaction and nice things said to you if you're doing nice things, you know, and you're kind of spreading some kind of joy. I find, you know, people, if you see if some people are on social media and they kind of moan all the time, and, you know, you unfollow them or you mute them or that kind of thing. So it's like social media does work best in terms of feedback when you post positive things, doesn't it? So, but we all know people, I'm sure, that are not exactly like their social media feed, and they are experiencing trouble in their real life, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, do you get that in a professional sense, like that people have kind of experienced kind of breakdowns from, social media just kind of twisting their worldview and kind of making them feel inferior? Because I guess we also see, sorry to go on, we also see our own social media feeds, don't we? And then I guess we kind of look at it and kind of relate to our real lives, our real selves, which includes the stuff, the harder stuff. And we must think, oh my gosh, that's not me. And that can kind of, it's like self-fulfilling.
Yeah. One of the things that's come over talking to people is that when you do a Zoom call, you can see yourself. Now, and you've been doing that for 18 months or however long. And prior to that, in every conversation you had with another person, you didn't have a mirror in front of you where you could see your own face. You could see the other person's face, but you couldn't see yours. Now, suddenly, for the last year and a half, we've been watching ourselves all the time. And that's one of the things people are saying to me, I can't stand looking at myself. You know, it's awful. I hate it. It's vile.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that they start to develop this experience of themselves. You know, so then they're starting to kind of play around and jazz themselves up and try and look super duper. Because they're looking at themselves, they can't cope with it. There's a wonderful advert on the television at the moment about a woman who's on a Zoom call, and they say, "Oh, show us your kitchen." For some reason, yeah, it's because they're selling kitchens, but I mean, show us your kitchen, and she's embarrassed to show her kitchen because it's a real kind of, the doors are hanging off and it's really kind of grungy and horrible. So in the end, she goes out to buy a new kitchen so she can show it off online. And to me, that was such a performative example of how we try to do things to make ourselves appear special, you know. And if people can, which is why, I mean, I've got this backdrop of this house, which is down in Mells, and it's like, if people are watching this, would they be thinking, oh, that's Sean's house there? You know? So, you know, have I now just gone up in status because I've got this beautiful house?
Why? Can I ask? That's not your house, so why have you got a picture of a house that's just down the road? It looks like quite a nice house.
Because if you look at it, if I move out of the way, it's got some particular frescoes on the wall, which are like very large Wedgwood, blue and white. They're quite fascinating, and I thought, oh, take a picture of that. That's quite nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's so much of it is look at me, and that's when I think that to put something positive on Facebook isn't a bad thing. That's okay. If it raises other people's mood, it's a good thing. Yeah, it's when I'm showing myself as being this amazing together person that I'm not.
Okay,
yeah, that's when it becomes performative. Yeah.
So so we're kind of saying there that just because we put nice things on Facebook, it doesn't mean we're kind of necessarily crying ourselves to sleep every night.
Well, this is something I've had quite a lot in the workplace, right? People come in on Monday morning and someone says, oh, how's your weekend? What did you do? Yeah. Now, someone might say, oh, I didn't do anything. I slobbed out a week. I didn't do anything. I didn't have anywhere to go. No one wanted me, kind of thing. Right? But some people will actually invent, oh, I had an amazing time. Or I went here and I went and did that. And they haven't done any of it at all.
Yeah.
And that is a performative act. Yeah. Wow. Equally so, you could see it the other way. There's been people I've had to deal with who've been off sick. And then because they haven't had all their marbles in a row, they've then appeared on Facebook at a party and they're off sick. You know what I mean? So it's like the two things that go together. Yeah. So that whole kind of issue about performing on Facebook does become a bit, yeah. And I can remember being a teenager and being at a big Mecca ballroom for a Christmas do. And there were thousands of people there and they had a raffle. And I won a raffle prize, which meant I had to walk across the dance floor to get the prize, in front of thousands of people. And I remember feeling like I couldn't walk, like someone had tangled the strings up on the puppet, and my legs were all odd and googly and gangly, and I couldn't just smoothly walk across and get my prize, because I was into that performative issue. Like, oh my God. So I suppose if I got it right performatively, I would have overcompensated and really kind of jazzed it up as I went across the dance floor.
I mean, but you're someone as well that has actually performed on stage. Well, I guess you do perform anyway in terms of the work and some of the bigger talks you give, in person or online. So sometimes people want to be entertained and performed to. So I guess we don't want to confuse the two things as well, do we?
No. And one of the things about being on stage is that it's something that you learn to do. You might start off being a bit, but you learn to do it. And there is an amazing buzz in being able to work an audience. It is quite an extraordinary feeling when you do it.
Yeah.
I had 10,000 people singing A Day in the Life by the Beatles with me and a 12-string guitar and 10,000 people singing. It was amazing. And that was a performance. Yes.
Does that exist online? That needs to be is that a YouTube video anywhere? Or?
No. And that was so long ago they didn't have those kind of devices to record.
Pre-camera even.
Yeah. It was the Malvern Festival once. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, your blog post summarizes with when you stop performing, you start being. So again, we don't want to kind of put people off performance entirely because it does bring joy to a lot of people, as we just explained. But maybe just kind of back off and give yourself a little bit of break sometimes and just accept yourself, warts and all.
Yeah, and if you're in a performance state, you're usually presenting yourself in a way that you're not, and you know that you're not. You're kind of bigging it up, or making it. It's got kind of bells and bows and trumpets and sparkly things on it, whereas actually it was quite dull. But we're sharing it in a way which is performative. Yeah. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with playing the game. The issue is whether you can see yourself playing the game, whether it becomes that way of you being. Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things is that whole thing about we've spent our lives online over this period of time working with people, and when people have got the filters on and they're doing this and their ID pictures are one from 10 years ago and all that kind of stuff, and then we actually meet the person in reality, and it's like, who are you? Because you don't actually look like the person I've been talking to on Zoom for the last year.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
a very real experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've joined an entire kind of, or helped create a whole mini action group for kind of environmental stuff locally. And, you know, it's a group of, well, various people have come and gone, but 7 or 8 of us that have met over the last year and a half. And most of us hadn't met in real life. And we had a physical meeting at someone's house last week. And it was fantastic. But yeah, it was weird seeing people in real life. And, you know, I'm a short guy, but people didn't know. They kind of assumed, because I don't know why, that I was kind of taller in real life. And then this little 5'6" fella on a bike shows up. They didn't say they were disappointed, I should add, but it's just, yeah, they were. It was like, you're tiny. Yeah. So yeah, that was nice to be brought down a peg or two.
As my mother used to say to me, all good things come in little parcels.
Yeah, exactly. I did. Yeah, I should have said that. What's your resource of the week, John?
It's a coach who's a wellness coach, and talking about performative issues. It's a little kind of thing he does, like a little blog, but it's to do with wellness counselors. So it's about them kind of looking out for stuff, and it's good because you can see yourself in it if you read it. Yeah.
Cool. All right, mine is a film called The Talented Mr. Ripley, which is quite a famous movie with Matt Damon and Jude Law in it when they were younger. And yeah, Matt Damon has to put on a performance like you've never seen. He has to become another person and manages to pull it off for quite a while. So
yeah, wow,
really fascinating film. So yeah, watch that one if you can.
Yeah, will do.
All right, Sean, we all done?
Yeah, we are.
I
should go back my drive into this lovely house of mine behind
yeah,
you.
go on, up you go. Enjoy that kind of fresco on the wall there, Mel's. Someday we'll all have a fresco on our walls one day,
eh? Yeah.
All right, thanks for your time, and I'll catch up with you next time.
Yeah, you take care. Have
See you,
a good
everyone.
one.
Bye.
See ya.
See you later.
Bye.